Eric Eaton of Eaton Financial is back to discuss one of the most important elements to a successful financial plan, and that's budgeting. Good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
So this is always an interesting issue because I think in theory it's yeah, everyone should budget. Talk about the importance of that and why we really need to make sure people know that.
Well, when it really boils down to it, there's two different ways to retire.
Okay.
You either have so much money saved up that it doesn't really matter what you budget and you just spend whatever you want.
That would be nice.
Which isn't the more popular way. I think everybody would like it that way. But most time people fall into the second category of you spend less than you earn.
Okay.
And that's where budgeting comes in. I've retired a lot of people that have minimal amount of savings, but because they've budgeted their livelihood so low, it makes it fairly easy.
Okay. Another issue or component about all of this and planning is debt. So how do you go into retirement, obviously knowing that maybe you have some debt and budgeting as well?
Well, a lot of people go about debt the wrong way. We believe that debt is part of maturing and part of getting to retirement.
Okay.
You're always going to take on debt and you're always going to pay off debt. But we subscribe to the theory of planning your debt, just like you plan your car payment. And you don't go and buy a $30,000 car and just plan to pay it off every month frantically. You set a 5-year payment schedule and you pay it off. We look at debt the same way. If you take a strategy toward debt, it eliminates the stress of the debt, and it also allows you to pay yourself first, which is one of the biggest things of budgeting, is putting away for your retirement to satisfy that part of your plan as well. And too many people are just kind of sporadic where they pay all their bills first and then they spend their money, and whatever's left to put away for themselves, they put away for themselves. And we really subscribe to the fact that you have to make your retirement a bill, and you have to pay yourself consistently every month, just like you would pay your car payment or your house payment, to make sure that you hit those goals. And debt's another factor of that you structure that payment so that you have it paid off over a certain amount of time.
And that's what I was just going to ask you, was what are the keys to making a successful budget? And I mean, a lot of people, it's tough for them to maybe see on paper, but I know it's important. But what are the key ways in making sure you're doing it correctly?
The biggest mistake that we see is everybody wants to list out all their bills and where they spend their money every month. And we encourage people not to do that.
Okay.
Because it's never going to happen. There's too many things that fall through the cracks. So creating a budget is a multi-step process, but first off, you need to know money in versus money out. You need to know just basically what it costs you to live every single month. And once you know that, then you can look at where you're spending your money, and you can make deductions and cut things out and minimize things to where you can reduce that budget. But I think everybody would agree you have to know what you spend beforehand, and that's a pretty easy factorization as far as money in versus money out.
And it's interesting, it is a simple theory, but I think so many of us, I think so many of Americans, obviously they have trouble in this category and making budgets for themselves, and I think that's why it's so important to have help. So can you help people with this? Obviously, whether it's today budgeting, retirement budgeting? Absolutely.
That's one of the biggest things that we do. You know, we stress you practice everything in life before you do it.
Yeah.
You know, nobody practices retirement before they retire. They just decide they're going to retire this date and game on.
Yeah.
Well, there's no redo. So you have to practice retirement, and part of that is knowing your budget and knowing if what you're living on currently is what you want to live on in retirement, and that's satisfactory to both parties. So
I wish we could practice retirement early. That would be nice. We'll put your details up so people can go ahead and start making the phone calls. I know people are looking in the new year and going, okay, this is an area of my life I want to get on track. So there's the number to call, obviously the website as well. Thank you so much for being here. We always learn a lot from you. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me again.